Welcome back. On this particular video, or this particular series of videos, and I'm going to be focused more on tips and tricks of things that are not really common, or little things that you want to know of. Let me start off with importing from the same model I've been working on till now, the Genshin model. And let's me talk about materials. Let me go to the material settings, go over here to render. On this particular one, I'm going to be focusing on making things like vanish. So in some MMD morphs, you have something that could make the things go vanish here, back and forth. If, for instance, if you assemble all on your model by pressing this button, which now did all the assembly, and you go up here to the morphs tools, if the model in question that you're working on already has a morph setting that makes part of the model go transparent, or like swap it from one mesh to the other one, it's gonna be right here, right? You just gotta find it in the material group, or if it's gonna be within the group, vertex or UVs, and then you can select one, for instance, go for an eye. It's gonna be eye morph, and then you just move the value. Okay, and then you can keyframe this, and it'll move the morph accordingly. If it's a transparency morph, it'll do the same thing. Now, if however, like this model does not have any transparency mode, you wanna add it into your model. This is why I'm doing this video for. Now, I don't need any of this more, so I'm gonna get rid of the assemble all. I'm just gonna be focused on the material settings, so I don't want any of this linkage. So get rid of that, dump it. That gets rid of all the constraints, all the drivers. And now I'm gonna see, we can do it to the, like this part of the model. Let's go to edit mode. Let me select the faces. So every time you select the face within your material preview, every time you select a new face, this little section will hop into place. Right, so it will select the appropriate material. So if you select all, then you can select all that material. So if this is what you want, for in my case, as an example, I want this to be a pair transparency, but I want to be able to control it. You select that one. We're gonna go to shading. We go zoom in. Right, and within shading, if you don't see anything here on your preview, just press the home button on your keyboard, and that will teleport you to the right location where the nodes are. It just grabs the whole nodes and just zooms out and puts it right in center. Like, doesn't matter where in the grid you are. Just press home, it brings you right back into the center of the screen. Pretty nifty little shortcut. Okay, so here I'm going to be adding a node. It's going to be a transparent BFDS, a mix shader. Okay, so the transparency is going to go into one. Our main shader is going to go to the other one. And then we can go from one into the other one. We're going to click this one and click that one. So now we're going to have some kind of transparency, but it doesn't work. Over here in Blender, you need to actually tell it, or at least within Eevee, you need to tell it that it needs to be respected to the alpha channel that you're creating, which we are here creating, and just turns one or the other one, right? It doesn't quite work. Oh, I actually did. Okay, so I believe when we added the assemble all, this thing changed, because standard it will be opaque, and then it just does this. So if it does not work, like if you put like this and it does this, it means that here your blend modes, you need to put alpha hash. Alpha hash creates this little, I don't know if it's coming through, but like a greeny transparency. And alpha blend makes it pretty much like how you would expect, like more of a transparency. So it like, kind of depends. I tend not to show backface. That way you don't see any of this extra geometry. Or backface calling gives you a different look. So kind of play around till you get something with it. So you don't want to see that one. Click on that one. And alpha hash has a different look altogether. So within the alpha blend and alpha hash, you get two different settings, different looks. You can also play with it and get like different effects. For the most part, like if it's gonna be like clothing, I go with alpha hash because it's like grainy, doesn't really matter. And if it's gonna be something that's gonna be pretty like abrupt, I'll just go with alpha blend and just cuts off more than it needs. So alpha hash, and we go. So the way you would do about this is just keyframe this little section by, let me open up a window here and open up the timeline. And within 0, let's make the clothing be a parent. And let's go to 60. And then let's have this part go away. Let's insert a keyframe there. Right, so we play it. At 60, it goes totally away. If the node it is right next to your output, it will usually appear right here on your settings. So you can actually keyframe it within here. It is pretty nifty. And you can go a couple nodes behind it, and then it cuts off. Now you can play it, keyframe it, put that one back, procedural diamond, keyframe that one. Now it disappears and reappears, and so on, right? Now you usually have something else appear in its place, like you can do like a clothing swap. Then you just keyframe it in the opposite way. Now this is the way how to do it via materials and using this one. Another way you can do it, if you don't want to go, for instance, if this is not showing up, right here, you have other settings. And for instance, if you click on somewhere else, another material, well, that thing's gone, right? So you need to actually be selecting the right material. in order for this to pop up. So in order to always have it active, we're gonna create a driver for it. All right, so now we're gonna go to the bones, and this driver is gonna be control, like if you're gonna do an animation, for instance, you're working on your model, you're animating your model, and then here you don't have any more settings for your materials. So you need to go out of post mode, click on your mesh, and then find the appropriate location, appropriate material, and try to animate that, right? So jumping in and out of post mode just for those kind of settings is rather annoying. So let's create a bone that we're gonna be using to control our for our instance, our clothing vanishing morph. So I'm gonna go to edit mode, click on that one, and I'm gonna extrude a new bone. I'm gonna do set, so it goes straight up. Doesn't matter how big it is. Okay, so I'm gonna grab that one. I also want it over here, but I don't want to move the actual head, so Alt P, and I'm gonna disconnect it. I want to put it right here. So you have the dash line is connected to that one. Go to post mode. If I move the head, this bone's gonna go with it. So that's why I parented to that one. So I always, wherever the model's been animated, I always want this bone to be relative to the head bone, so I can always find it. It can be anywhere. It can be even not parented to any of the model, as long as it's been in the same armature. So we have this one. I'm gonna rename this bone. So go over here, and right now it's called head .001. I want this one to be something else so we can easily find it. Let's call it cloth control or something towards it. Just because this is going to be a reference bone, I'm going to turn off the deformation. So in case you want to do a like automatic weights, this thing is not going to be having any influence in your weights. So that's going to save you some troubleshooting. Like any bone, for instance, you want that one, and you don't want that one to be controlled by any have any control in your deformations. Toggle this off. Okay, so here, within this bone, we're gonna go here to our bone settings, all the way down, close those, and over here in the custom properties, we're gonna add a new property to it. So we create a brand new property. You can create as many as you want. I'm gonna edit the property. And yeah, let's add 2 so we can see which, like the one and the other. So 1 is going to be a float, means we can create a value from 0 to 1 and anything in between. And let's call this one cloth 1. And then in the other one, let's call this one cloth 2. But for this one, I'm going to add a integer. Okay. So the integer is going to go from 0 to 1. It's not going to have anything in between. And the cloth 1 will have a variation, like a gradient between one and the other one. So you can create a vanishing effect. And this one will be more for a clear-cut swap from one and the other one, on-off switch. Okay, so let's do the very first one and create. Okay, right click on it, and we want to copy its data path. So it's gonna grab like where the name of the bone, the location, pretty much the path it is to that little name. Here, now we need to go out of pose mode, into our clothing. We're gonna go into whatever settings you wanna have driver control. In our case, it's going to be this one. Let me clear the keyframes, so there's no keyframes whatsoever. You can add a driver to anything in particular. It doesn't necessarily need to be this. So anything that has a settings, you can add a driver. So in our instance, we're gonna add a driver here. So here, click on it, right click, press add driver. And then here we're gonna delete this, just keep the bar. In the drop down here, we're gonna add single property. Within the prop, we need to reference our armature. Okay, so you can go here and you can click on the armature. Like in my instance, I just click out of the window and it went away. So you can click on it again, edit driver, or bring it right back. So you can use the eyedropper, click on the armature, and then come back and edit driver, right? And there it is. Or you can just click on this little thing, like the window here, and just look for it. It's gonna be, depending on how much crap you have here, it's gonna be a long ass list. So just press arm for armature. It's gonna be this one. So you see this name? It's that name right there. So once again, add this, and now, whoops, okay. Once you have your armature selected in the data path, you can press Control V. You're gonna paste our bones data path, and with this you are set. The settings works. Now you wanna edit this, it does not work. This thing's now being controlled by a driver. And to check, let's go back to layout. Let's go to pose mode. Once you have this one clicked on, we're gonna go up here to items, and in your items tab, we're gonna open up the properties panel. And here, however many new, for instance, if I add more, however many more custom properties is going to be up here. And now within this, while you're animating, you're moving your model and so forth, you can click on this bone, this thing will pop up, and now you can animate the, in our instance, our vanishing. But this is how you can add a custom driver to your model and have it control whatever you want. It can be any settings. Right? In our cases, we're controlling their vanishing. And now, let me do the same thing for the second one, but let me add it to a different piece. So grab that one. Let me copy the data path for the second driver. It's going to be this one, and currently it's not doing anything. This as another example. Select that one. I'm going to do it for the skirt, for this part. Go here. Add a transparent. Add a mix shader. Click those, click those, click those. And then you have this going on, right? So once again, let's add a driver. Let's get rid of this. Add a single property. Add armature. And add a path. And now we have it being controlled with a driver. So let me turn off the bones. And this is a simple toggle on off. And this one will be a vanishing. So this is how easily you can go about creating a driver to create things to go on and off. Okay, so there you go. And there is one more way of making things vanish, but this one entails I'll say, well, it's a different way. It's not necessarily more work, it's just a different matters. And in this particular instance, we need to have separate objects. So let's cut this part off our model. So press P, separate from material. So now this is a different piece than our model, right? Over here on our viewport, we wouldn't need the M pattern anymore. So right here, you need to open up this guy and then click on this little monitor icon, and now you have this. Okay, so let's open up this one, let's open up this one, and then we have this one. Okay, so within our object properties, we're going to go into our visibility. And then, for instance, we're going to do a render here. So render 0. We're going to animate it. I like to, for instance, keyframe them both. So what I'm seeing is actually going to be viewable on both. If you only do it to render, you're going to go pretty much out of sync. It's going to be a little bit more confusing. In frame 30, I want it to be not visible for the renders. So I'm going to go back one frame, keyframe it as it been on. And in frame 30, I wanted to keyframe it as it been off. So you're going to play and then boom. So if I grab the camera, view, let me lock the camera, let me zoom in. So right here, you render it, and then skirt's not there. Let me go back to frame 20-ish, and the skirt's there. Boom. So this is the, like, I would say, like, runabout way of doing it. And then you can also keyframe this one in here. Right, so that's why you want to have it on. So this is like visible to your viewport, and this is actually visible to your like render settings. The camera means it's going to be render, and this is going to be on your viewport. And with that, I believe this was the pretty much like, what is it, like two ways that I can go about making things go vanish. Okay, so with this is my little tips and tricks on how to make things go away. I'll catch you guys next time, and do let me know if you guys put some new ideas or like things you want me to do. Let me know, put it in the comments, and I'll see if I can get it done. Catch you guys later.